Hello, everyone. This is Deborah Poneman with Your Life Without Limits, and I am very excited to be interviewing the wonderful Brent Phillips today. Brent is what you might call an unlikely healer. He started out with a love of technology that led him to become an MIT-trained engineer. However, the strain of his work left him disabled for 7 years. Fortunately, he experienced a miracle when his injured arm instantly healed from a single session of what is called Theta Healing. Today, he's a certified Master of Theta Healing with over 5,000 hours of private sessions logged. Brent says that healing is not necessarily a mystical New Age phenomena, but rather the way he practices and teaches and writes about it. It is precise, it is linear, it is easily understood by the Western mind, and it is extremely effective. Brent has personally facilitated hundreds of miraculous, even instant healings on problems as diverse as HIV, asthma, cancer, childhood abuse, allergies, and many other injuries and illnesses, even those conditions considered incurable. He's even used Theta Healing to allow his clients to experience greater prosperity, better relationships, and to find true love. So now, besides informing us just what Theta Healing is, Brent is going to share how symptoms of chronic health problems can be improved or even removed, how things like fear of failure can be changed into the love of success, and of course, what exactly is what he calls the formula for miracles. So, Brent, thank you for being here.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
And I would so appreciate it if you could take a few minutes to tell us a little bit more about your story. I mean, we know about your arm, but there has to be more to it when an MIT-trained software engineer and very successful businessman leaves it all behind and becomes a healer. So can you share with us your story?
Sure. It was kind of a funny thing because it was not ever something I planned on. It was something that just kind of happened. Because if you knew me, especially if you knew me when I was young, you'd know that I was very much the prototypical computer nerd. When I was a kid, I was very much into science and technology and electronics. I really loved all the early video games. I was into role-playing games, and I loved science fiction and fantasy and Lord of the Rings and all that kind of stuff. And so when it came time for me to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life, it was not a hard decision because the one thing that I was good at that someone would pay me for was programming computers. So I decided to go to college at MIT and major in computer science. And when it was there, that I discovered a huge passion, which was the Internet. And I know today that sounds kind of funny, but 25 years ago, the world was very different. And the Internet was not well known. It was not mainstream. It was basically just some universities and companies doing advanced research, government projects, and military that were using the Internet. And so I got very involved in the then primitive online world. And I thought it was so exciting because I saw how this technology had the potential to change the world, and it really has, even beyond what I had originally envisioned. And so when I was there at MIT, I made computer networking the focus of my studies. I got my bachelor's degree. I then continued on to graduate school at MIT in the Laboratory for Computer Science under Professor David Tannenhouse in the Telemedia Networks and Systems group. I got my master's degree, and I was actually in the PhD program working towards my doctorate when the Internet boom really hit the mainstream in the 90s. And so, like a lot of my lab mates, I left graduate school early with the plan that I would move to California, start an Internet company, make millions of dollars, and then ideally retire to some tropical island and spend my days hot tubbing with supermodels. So
sounds good
that was
to
the
me.
plan. Yeah, that was the plan. And as they say, the way you make God laugh is to tell him your plans. So there was a lot of chuckling in heaven around that time period. Though at first things went pretty well. I started a website company with my lifelong best friend and another partner. And about a year later, we had landed a lot of high-profile projects. I had 15 people working for me. And the very first website that I ever did in my whole life, beyond like Brent's homepage, was for the launch of the Sony PlayStation in the summer of 1995. So we were doing a lot of really cool stuff, Fortune 500 clients. We worked with Sony and Nissan and Disneyland and lots of cool stuff. And things were going so well with the web company that we decided to start a second company to create online video games. And so we started that, and I was the designer and developer of the world's very first, what's called today MMORPG, or massively multiplayer online role-playing game, Underlight, which went first publicly released in 1997. So if you're one of those World of Warcraft widows out there, that's sort of my fault. I was the one that created that whole industry. And so unfortunately I was years ahead of my time, and so financially the company was a disaster. And even worse, because I was working so hard, because I was so passionate about making these companies a success, I was at the office all the time. I was working literally 60, 80, sometimes 100 hours a week. Because, again, I figured I would work really hard for a couple years, and that sacrifice would be worthwhile if I got my pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But it didn't work out that way, because before we got to the finish line, my body broke down. I was pushing myself so hard, I created a devastating case of what's now called repetitive stress injuries. And so I had all these different diagnoses. I was told I had tendinitis and bursitis and thoracic outlet syndrome and carpal tunnel syndrome. And in fact, I had so many different itises and syndromes that when people would ask me, well, what's wrong with you, I would sort of jokingly say, well, I have itis syndrome. And so I didn't panic at first because I just went to doctors. Because my whole life up to that point, whenever I had a real health problem, I'd go to the doctor and then always managed to take care of it. And so I went to doctors, and they put me in splints and gave me anti-inflammatories and pain control drugs and sent me to physical therapy, and that didn't seem to work. And so I just started doing more and more and more of that, and ended up spending 3 years trying to find conventional treatment. And it just didn't work. In fact, I just kept getting worse. And so after 3 years of this, things really came to a tipping point because I was barely able to work at the office, certainly nothing like I used to. I mean, I was lucky if I could spend an hour or so on the keyboard every day. And so my partners and everyone else just saw me as a burden now instead of being the prime mover of the company. I was in so much pain that I could only drive for short distances, maybe 10 minutes at a time. I couldn't even hold a book open to read it because even holding a book open for more than a few minutes caused me pain. I even had to move in with my parents because on a bad day, I couldn't even cut my food because I was in so much pain. So this wasn't just like a little tingle in my wrist. This was really devastating pain that just completely wiped out my life. My partners eventually lost patience with me, and so I ended up getting pushed out of the company, and the website company was then later sold for millions of dollars behind my back. And around the same time, the doctors also gave up on me. They declared me what they call permanent and stationary, which is work comp lingo, at least in California, which means that they think you're incurable. They think that no matter how much treatment you're given, you will never recover. And so they didn't want to waste any more treatment on me. So I got PNS'd, as they say, and that was devastating because at the time I was 27 years old. And again, I was told by the very best doctors that there was absolutely no hope that I could ever recover, that there was no hope I could ever be out of pain, that I could ever go back to work or live any kind of a normal life. Right around that same time, what I call the cherry on top of the sundae was that I found out that my lifelong best friend, who had been my business partner who had betrayed me, had also been secretly dating the woman that I was in love with and seeing behind my back.
Oh, my gosh.
And so that was really a wipeout on all levels, health, wealth, and love, right? Those are kind of the big three things that most of us want to have in life. And I got wiped out on all levels, and so I was very depressed. I was miserable. I was angry. I was cynical. I was drinking a lot, and I was in a lot of pain, and I really didn't see any hope for myself. Fortunately, I didn't stay stuck there for too long. One thing that happened was I had a friend of mine who introduced me to positive thinking. And he said, hey, Brent, when things are really down, this is what it's for. And so he got me into self-improvement. And today we call it the law of attraction, but in the 90s it was generally called positive thinking. Those really the same stuff. And so I started listening to positive thinking tapes and going to positive thinking seminars and doing motivational work and putting power words on my walls and making vision boards and wish lists and saying my mantras. I said my mantras 108 times a day because someone had told me that's like the magic number that makes everything come true. And at first I was really hopeful that all this positive thinking stuff would make a difference in my life, but it didn't. And after maybe 3-4 months of it, I got really frustrated, and I felt very betrayed because it was supposed to work, and it didn't work. Nothing changed. I was still in pain. I was still heartbroken. I still was hopeless. And it just seemed to me like I had been fed false hope. And I thought that maybe all these people selling positive thinking were just out preying on desperate people. I learned later that that wasn't true, but I had a very emotional reaction to that, and as they say, I threw the baby out with the bathwater and decided it was a bunch of New Age hook'em that didn't work. But again, I was fortunate not to stay in that depressed phase for too long, because shortly after that, I got introduced to alternative medicine. And so, like a lot of the listeners listening to this call today, when I first was introduced to alternative medicine, I got really excited because I thought, wow, you know what, this is finally what's going to do it for me. This is exactly what I need to get me better. This is really good at the things that conventional medicine is bad at, namely chronic conditions and things like that. And so I really threw myself headlong into the world of alternative medicine. I basically spent the next 5 years as a professional patient doing a combination of alternative and conventional therapy. And I was out trying to do everything I could. I went to homeopaths and osteopaths and chiropractors, and I took herbs, and I did all these different cleanses and crazy diets. I did a strict raw food diet for a while, and the caveman diet and the anti-inflammation diet, and I could go on and on and on about all these things I tried. I took all manner of different supplements, dozens, maybe hundreds. I went to various kinds of healers and body workers. I had all sorts of deep tissue work. I had energy work. I had faith healing. I had every healing device and machine known to man. I worked with lasers. I worked with ultrasound. I worked with electric stimulators. I had chi machines and subsonic stimulators and vibration machines and titanium tape and all these different stretching machines and vibration machines. And, I had this thing called the back hammer, which is like a little sledgehammer you use on your back. And so, I could go on and on and on with all these different things I tried. And the same thing happened every time. This didn't happen just once. This happened dozens of times. Because I'd find some new modality, or I'd find a new machine, or I'd find a new supplement, or a treatment protocol or something. And I'd talk to someone and they'd say, hey, Brent, I'm so glad you found me. Because this is exactly what you need. Because I've been able to help a lot of people who have a similar problem to you. And they go on to tell me how if I worked with them for a month or 6 months or a year or whatever the time frame was, that they'd have like an 80 or 90 or 98% success rate. And they'd say, well, yeah, you do this, and within a certain amount of time, you'll be out of pain and you'll be back to work and your life will be normal again. So I'd go and try it. And I want to be clear that when I say I tried something, what I don't mean I did it for an hour or two or did it for a weekend. When I say I tried acupuncture, what I mean is I went and found the best Chinese doctor I could, and I went to see him 2 or 3 times a week for 2 years. That's what I mean by I tried something. But every time, and this happened just not a few times, but dozens of times, maybe 20, 30, 40 times, I'd work with someone, it'd be 6 months, a year, 2 years later, and one day they would just kind of shrug their shoulders and go, sorry, Brent, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you're just not responding. For whatever reason, this treatment just doesn't work on you. I guess you have to try something else. And this happened over and over and over and over and over. And so after 5 years of basically being a full-time patient trying to get treatment, I really got desperate. It seemed like I was running out of options. And so I agreed to have an experimental surgery. And I had found an orthopedist who was very well known, one that's supposed to be the best elbow doctor in the Western Hemisphere. And I had agreed to have this experimental surgery that he thought could really help me regain lost motion and get me out of pain. And so, of course, if the surgery had worked beautifully and it had totally cured me, I wouldn't be here doing this interview now, would I?
Right, exactly.
Instead, the surgery was a total disaster. And as bad as things had been before the surgery, it was actually much worse afterwards, because after the surgery, I couldn't move my arm at all. It was completely frozen at the elbow.
No.
So that was a disaster. I couldn't drive. I couldn't dress myself. It was even very difficult just to use the bathroom. Anybody who hasn't had that kind of experience, you have no idea how much we take for granted having our limbs. You have no idea how difficult or impossible just normal, simple, everyday things are when you don't have full use of your body. This was a whole new level of disability. Fortunately, my elbow was only frozen like that for about 4 months. I tried a lot of stuff to get it to move. I wore dynasplints, and doctors shot it up with anesthetic and tried to manipulate it, and we did all these different things. But it was after about 4 months that I was introduced to Theta Healing. It was funny how it came to me because, again, I had tried all sorts of different crazy devices and machines and energy healers before. But it was my Aunt Lauren who told me about it because she said that her close friend, Terry O'Connell, had had a major health crisis that almost killed her. But she had found this energy healing technique called Theta Healing developed by a woman in Idaho, Diana Stiebel. And not only had it saved her life, but she was so impressed with this Theta Healing process that she actually decided to give up her amazing career in finance to go off and start a business as a full-time healer. And so at first I thought she was just a little crazy. I really believed, I'm like, wow, it sounds like this woman's just gone off the deep end of the New Age pool. But I wanted to try everything. And so I scheduled a session and went and met Terry, and she explained to me how muscle testing worked, which we'll cover in a little bit, and about the power of the subconscious mind. And really, she explained to me how by using a theta brainwave, we can access and work with these subconscious energies that create our reality. And that by identifying and clearing the right subconscious blocks, you can actually make a huge shift in your life. You can recover your physical health. You can heal from emotional problems. You can bring in more money. You can find love, whatever you want. And it all sounded very cool. And we talked about a lot of different things. And she asked me questions about what had happened with my parents. She asked me about my belief in God. She asked me about my first marriage and relationships with women. And we talked about what had happened with my best friend and the company and all my injuries and the pain and the woman I was in love with, and on and on and on. And it was all very interesting. But the whole time I was kind of going, well, there's nothing wrong with talking about your feelings, but that's not really why I'm here. Right? I'm here because I want to get my arm moving and I want to get out of pain so I can go back to work. Right. Once I got my life in order, then we can sit around and talk about our feelings, and that'll be fine. And I didn't see the connection at the time. And so at the end of the session, she goes, okay, Brent, try your arm. And I was like, okay, whatever. And it was then that I actually felt something popped and shifted inside my elbow. And it was remarkable because this is all done with the mind. The whole time she was sitting across the room from me. There was no manual manipulation. There was no hands-on. There was no machine or device or supplement or anything. And something moved inside my elbow. And after she had done the healing, I could move my arm again. It was that simple. That was the miracle that hooked me onto this. And I can say in all honesty that it was truly a miraculous instant healing, that the damage from the surgery completely and instantly healed. And after that point, I never had trouble moving my arm again. And, of course, I was shocked and amazed by that. I told her, I'm like, hey, I don't know what you just did, but I got to learn this. And so I did. And I spent years to master it and internalize it and then make it better and bring it out to the world. And that's why I'm here today.
What an amazing, amazing story. I mean, the most amazing thing is that just instantaneously, after all of these years of trying everything, every healer, every chi machine, I mean, the list that you gave, I was sitting here hysterical at the list of everything that you went through, and just like that. So what I would love for you to do is to just go a little bit deeper. You said that you access subconscious energy, remove subconscious blocks, but can you just clarify, so what is Theta Healing? How does it work? Because we all want it.
Sure. The basic premise of the law of attraction and energy healing is pretty simple. It's that your mind is very powerful and that there's flows of energy through your mind and body that have a big effect on your life. And so if you can learn to harness and open up those flows, you can achieve a better life. You can make more money. You can heal your body, whatever you're looking for. However, what I found in my experience was that most of the time it didn't quite work as advertised. And so if you take, for example, your typical law of attraction program, they almost always have these great testimonials on a sales page or a brochure or email or something. and you'll see these smiling, happy people, and they'll talk about, hey, you know what, I went to this weekend seminar, and in the next 2 days I made $1 million. And you're like, hey, all right. And, you go and you sign up and you pay your money, and they'll have you dance on the stage and high-five your friends and make a wish board and look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you're a millionaire and maybe snap yourself on the wrist with a rubber band if you have a negative thought or, some version of that. Now, don't get me wrong. Those are not bad things. They can be effective. But what you'll find is that only delivers results about 1% of the time. It's not that simple for most people. And so the vast majority of people come home from those things, and the only thing that's changed is they now have this big charge on their credit card they have to figure out how to pay, and they don't have any extra money. And that can be very frustrating. And that's why there's been a big backlash against mind power and the law of attraction, because it got really popular about 5-6 years ago, and a lot of people got into it and used it in a very simple, naive fashion and didn't get the results they're looking for, just like I did 15 years ago, and then threw the baby out with the bathwater and said it didn't work. What I've realized is that it's not that there's scammers out there. Most of these people teaching this stuff really are genuine. The trouble is that they're in the lucky 1% that saw great results right away without needing to work too hard at it. It would be very similar to imagine someone who goes out and buys one lottery ticket and wins millions of dollars. And then they start teaching wealth building classes saying, well, yeah, it's easy. You just go buy a lottery ticket and you'll make millions of dollars. And then you do and you don't and you wonder what's wrong. It's like, no, they weren't trying to scam you. They just got lucky and didn't realize that not everybody else is that lucky. And so what's going on is that the people who get those incredible results, and a lot of the teachers out there, they're the ones who are lucky enough to go into that without subconscious blocks. And so what you'll find is that over 99% of your life and your reality is created unconsciously. And so that resolves the paradox, which is that these programs will tell you that your mind is powerful in creating your reality, but you look at all the things happening in your life and you go, wait a second, I didn't ask for this, right? I didn't ask to lose my home or lose my job or get cancer or have my best friend die or whatever it was.
Or take your girlfriend.
And so all that, exactly, or take your girlfriend and steal all your money.
Right.
And leave you disabled for your efforts. And so there's actually a simple explanation for all that resolves it, which is you're creating your life 99% plus unconsciously out of what you might call the subconscious mind. And so you're not aware of how you're doing it. And the people who get those incredible results, the people who get amazing changes from a session of energy healing or go to one positive thinking program and make $1 million, they're the ones, they're in that lucky 1% that didn't have their subconscious in the way. And so the usual techniques of vision boards and mantras and dancing on the stage and positive thinking, that actually works if your subconscious is in line with it. And so quite simply, the process that I learned in Theta Healing and have developed into the Formula for Miracles is a series of tools to show you how to identify and change what's in that subconscious in order to get 80 or 90 or 100% of your mind supportive of you, so that you can use these programs, you can do healings, do manifestations, make wish boards, and actually see results. And so there's a couple secrets, though, you need to know in order to do this. The first thing that is absolutely critical in order to work with the subconscious, which you have to do to see any real change in your life, is you have to know how to achieve a conscious theta brainwave. That's so important. Because if you're not in the theta state, which is the brain state you go into when you're asleep at night and dreaming, in what's known as REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, that's when we normally go to theta. If you're not in a theta brainwave, nothing is going to change. And so that's one of the reasons a lot of the programs and things, they work sometimes but not always, is because to get into the subconscious you have to be in theta. And so in order to make real change in your life, what you need to do is be able to access that theta wave to go in and reprogram what I call the software of your soul. And the way it works is actually pretty simple, and I'm going to use a computer metaphor because that's my background. And pretty much anybody that's made it up to this point in their life, I doubt you did so without using a computer. In fact, my guess is that a lot of people listening to this call are doing so on their computer or a smartphone, which is just a handheld computer. And it's very simple. All of us act, in a sense, very much like computers. And so if you look at your computer, you know that there's a bunch of programs that run on the screen. At the same time, you know that those programs are not created by the screen. Those programs are created by hidden codes, invisible codes that are sitting on the hard drive. And so what you'll recognize is the way most of us try to live our lives would be very similar to as if you had problems with your computer software. So you started drawing on your monitor with black markers and whiteout to try to make it look right, to fix the software. That's stupid, right? We all know that doesn't work. And it's not your fault. That's what you were taught. But that's exactly how people try to live their lives. They think that they can make more money by trying to work harder, or by trying to invest more wisely, or by cutting back on expenses. I'm not going to say that never works, but that's drawing on your monitor. You get a temporary effect, but it's not really fixing the underlying problem now, is it? The underlying problem is the codes on the hard drive. If you really want to fix the bugs, you need to go in and fix the code, or install new codes, or find someone who knows how to do that for you. And your life is the same way. We have all these different programs in our life, just like the programs on the computer. You have a career program, a money program, a love program, a physical health program, an emotional health program, on and on and on. And those are run by these codes inside of you, these subconscious beliefs. And so if you really want to see change, you need to learn how to go in and access and make shifts there. And so there's a couple things you need to do. The first thing you need to do is you need to access a conscious theta wave. Because without the theta wave, nothing happens. And we'll talk about a few options for that. The second thing you need to do is you need to find a way to communicate with your subconscious. You need to find a way to identify exactly what is in there. And that may not be obvious because it's not the conscious mind. That's important. It's not what you think it is. Because most of what's in your subconscious mind is things that didn't even happen to you. Most of what's in there is actually carried in from genetic linkages from ancestors. And so your subconscious mind remembers every single thing that's happened to you back at least 7 generations and all your ancestors. And so you can see how it's full of things that you have no idea are there because they didn't happen to you. And a lot of it is also things that happened in early childhood that you may not have a conscious memory of. Things you experienced or told or felt from your parents or people around you. And so I would say that certainly the big majority of what's in there, you have no idea. And one of the big mistakes people make is they think they know consciously what's in there. You don't. Give up on that right away. Right. You'll have a much easier time. And so there's a very simple technique to do that, and that's the muscle testing I mentioned earlier. And we may talk about that in a few minutes. But basically, by using muscle testing, you can ask direct questions of your subconscious mind. It's a way of bypassing the conscious thinking and going directly into what you might call this cellular memory or the kinetic intelligence or your body's intelligence. Those are all synonyms. They mean pretty much the same thing. It also taps you directly into what others have called trapped emotion. These are all just the same thing, different terms, different names. And so once you've identified what's there, that's very helpful. Once you've been able to identify that, it resolves the paradox of, okay, how is it that I can go to a positive thinking seminar or a law of attraction program and stand up on the stage and dance and tell everyone that I'm going to be a millionaire and money is flowing in and all that kind of stuff? Again, that's not wrong or bad. But what usually happens is your conscious mind, maybe 1% of your power, is telling the universe, hey, universe, make me rich, send me money. Well, that's cool. That's certainly better than 0%. It's a step in the right direction. But if your subconscious mind, which is at least 100 times more powerful, maybe 1,000,000 times more powerful, is there invisible in the background going, no, no, no. We think we have to be poor to be close to God. And we think that rich people are greedy. And we think that if we have a lot of money, everybody will want something from us. And we think that if we're too wealthy, people will only like us for our money. And we think that we are carrying a vow of poverty. And the list goes on and on and on. I mean, there's hundreds, thousands of these blocks inside of you.
I just wanted to say something I thought of. That must be why these people who win the lottery go back to being poor within a few years.
Yes. That's exactly why. I don't want to go off track too much, but what you just mentioned is a really powerful concept, which I call the subconscious financial thermostat, which is that the amount of money you make in your life is not governed by what you think it is. It's not governed by your job or your education or how smart you are or how hard you work or who you know or what family you came from or what investments you pick. It's none of those things. Those are the means by which the money flows to you in physicality, but they're not the source of it. And that distinction is critical. Instead, the source of your prosperity is your consciousness. It's your energy. That is reflected in your ways of thinking and acting, your behaviors. And so when people talk about the millionaire mindset or living like a rich person, that's what they mean. If you take someone and give them a bunch of money that their consciousness and energy is not programmed for, they will lose it. And this is why over 80% of lottery winners lose all their money within a few years. It's not their fault. They're really not stupid, and everyone thinks it won't happen to them. And I guarantee you, you get a room full of your friends and you say, hey, you know what, if you won $10 million in the lottery, do you think you'd lose it all in 5 years? How many of them do you think would raise their hand and go, yes, I'm an idiot, I'm going to lose it? Of course not. They actually make you take classes now in financial management and how to avoid scams and how to say no to people before they hand you that check.
And what they should do is when they hand you the check, they should send you to a Theta healer.
Yes, they should
to
send
reprogram.
That would actually work. I actually worked with a multi-million-dollar lottery winner years ago, and this is someone who, through a perfect storm of circumstance and events that nobody could have predicted or planned for, lost all their money. Again, it's not because they're stupid. It's just how energy works. And so if you want to make a permanent shift in the amount of prosperity you have, it's not about getting more education or trying to find a better job or pick the right stocks. It's about changing the energy and consciousness inside of you. It's about reprogramming your subconscious mind. When you've done that, that prosperity will then manifest through one or more of those channels, right? And so that's how it works. And we'll come back to that in a second when we talk about short-term and long-term benefits of this work. I have a little more to say about that. And so far we've said, okay, we understand now, it makes sense, that your subconscious mind is immensely powerful. And trying to change your life in any significant way without addressing the subconscious piece is pretty futile. It's almost doomed to failure most of the time. And so if you want to make a shift, if you want to identify and clear those blocks, there's two things you need to do. The first one is you need to identify them. That's what muscle testing is for. Muscle testing lets you tap directly into your body's kinetic intelligence. You can find out exactly which belief systems and programs and traumas and vows and things are inside there and which are not. That's immensely powerful. Fortunately, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes for most people to learn it. So you're not looking at a long, expensive learning curve. Most people can learn in 5 or 10 minutes for free. That's easy. The second piece is, okay, now that I've identified what these blocks are, what do I do about it? That's a little more challenging. It's a little more sophisticated. Now, I've made it my mission in my career to make it as easy as possible and create a lot of resources to facilitate that. And so remember that the first thing you have to do, if you want to see any significant change in any part of your life, is to go in and identify and change the subconscious energies to align them with your goal. You can muscle test to identify the blocks, and then you need to use a variety of different techniques, all of which use a theta brainwave in order to make that change. And so the different ways that you can make that shift is really interesting, and I'm going to give a handful of different options here. It's really interesting because it's a direct reflection of my growth and my path and my evolution as a healer, as I learned all these different ways. And they all have their time and place. And so the first way that you can make a shift in your subconscious is in the traditional healing session. And so this is the first thing I learned when I trained with Vienna years ago. I learned Theta Healing. I learned how to work on people one-on-one. So someone can come into your office, you sit down with them, you show them muscle testing, you ask them the right questions, you help identify the blocks, and then you use a variety of techniques to clear them. So that works, and that's what we call a traditional private session. However, I'm an engineer. I'm an innovator. and I always want to make things better, faster, easier, more powerful. I'm almost never content with something no matter how great it is. I think there's always room to make it better. And so the next thing I learned is how to work remotely. That isn't honestly such a big deal nowadays, especially. There's a lot of healers and coaches out there that work remotely through phone or Skype. But I learned how to work remotely, and for the last several years, I do just about all of my private sessions remotely through phone or Skype. So that was kind of cool. The next step was I wanted to learn to work on a group. And so I actually started this in 2005 after I had gone to a wealth building seminar by a very well-known wealth building guru and author. I spent 3 days there, and I came home going, wow, that was interesting, but I can make much more powerful change in people in a fraction of the time doing what I know. And so I started doing what I call the Wealth Club, which for the first few years, it was in Los Angeles as a live event, and I'd rent a room once a month, and people would come in and bring their blocks, and I would clear the blocks on the whole group. And so that was kind of neat. I learned how to work on a group. But that still wasn't good enough. And so the next obvious step for me was learning how to work on a group remotely. And so I learned how to do that. And so starting in around 2008, 2009, I started doing the Wealth Club events as a teleseminar. And so instead of renting a room in Los Angeles, I set up teleseminars now, and I still do those on a regular basis. I do actually a variety of club events. I do health clubs, wealth clubs, love clubs, and others through my Formula for Miracles VIP Club, which is an online members program where you get access to all of these events and more. And it's essentially giving you regular live access to me to help you identify and clear your blocks, which I think is immensely valuable. And so by switching it to a teleseminar format, all the participants can submit their blocks, either live or ahead of time if they need to catch the recording, and I go through and clear them all for everybody. And so that was cool too. The other way you could do it is, and this is in some ways the best, is come to a live training class, and I would love to teach you this. It takes 3 days. But in just a few days, I can teach you how to access the theta wave, how to do intuitive readings, how to perform instant healings, how to identify and clear blocks, how to do manifestations, how to talk to dead ancestors and guardian angels and clear radiation and clear psychic cords and do soul retrievals and a lot of other cool stuff. So that's another option is you can come to the training class, and I will teach you this. Then you'll know how to do it for yourself and your friends and family for the whole rest of your life. There's one last option, which I think is the most interesting, and the one I'm the most proud of because I don't know of anyone else that has done this. What I really wanted to do, what I saw as the holy grail of this work, was to learn how to bottle the process of clearing these blocks. And then if you could bottle it and mass produce it, you could get it out to the world very cheaply and provide an enormous amount of clearing at a very low cost. And so it took me years of tinkering to figure out how to do this right. But that ultimately led to the development of what I call the Formula for Miracles technology. And so what that is, it's a patent-pending audio technology where we encode audios with binaural beats, which is a technique that's been around for decades in meditation tracks that entrains your brain to a specific brainwave. And so that's a part of it, but there's more. We use a combination of binaural beats along with a guided process of meditation and clearing, where we guide you through how to test, and I will automatically clear the blocks simply by listening to the program. So all you need to do is listen to the program with headphones and follow the instructions. And these programs will literally clear hundreds of powerful and common subconscious blocks just by listening to it. And so that's the last option for clearing this stuff. And that's the one I'm most proud of because no one else had been able to do anything like this. It's actually a huge amount of work to create one of these programs, so I don't have a lot of them created right now. But the ones I do have are absolutely hugely powerful and change lives every day. And I can honestly say that most of the people that listen to this come back to me and say, oh, my God, Brent, I had no idea. You know, I thought maybe I was just buying another law of attraction lecture. This is so much more. Not only are the lectures and the presentations way beyond anything I've heard before, because, I'm not interested in giving you the same old stuff rehashed over and over again that doesn't work. This is different. And I can guarantee, I don't care how many programs you've listened to, I don't care how long you've done law of attraction, I don't care how many healing certifications you have on your wall. I can guarantee you you're going to find some new stuff in here that's going to be an eye-opener. And then the block clearing is amazing because, again, we are literally resetting your subconscious financial thermostat as you listen to it.
Man,
and so when you
anybody
do that,
want that?
right, when you do that, that will start to change things. And so I know that one thing your listeners like to know about is, okay, this sounds great, but what's it going to do for me, right? Sounds nice. But if you're like me, you're practical. You want to see results. You want to understand what's happening here. And so let me offer you a couple different things. The first is short-term. The second is long-term.
Okay.
In the short term, one obvious thing that will happen, especially if you are interested in the special offer package, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, is the things you're going to learn here will either be somewhere between an eye-opener and completely change your worldview upside down. Because I've had the great fortune of studying with some really and truly amazing healers and teachers, and I have been doing this for many years. And I have done, like 7,000, 8,000 private sessions and thousands of hours of my own meditation and research. And I've come across some really profoundly startling truths. And basically, your world does not work the way you think it does. And I can guarantee you that if you go through this material, it's going to challenge some of your most basic assumptions about your life and how it works, which is good. Because almost all of us live to varying degrees, entranced by mythologies, things that are sort of true but not really. And you just can't live a functional life if you're running myths all the time. So you'll learn the truth about how you create your life. You'll start to understand the cause and effect. You'll start to reclaim your power. Now, also in the short term, many people will experience miracles. Not everybody. Because the thing you want to understand is what we're offering here is a set of tools for higher dimensional living. These tools will give you the ability to identify and work directly with your subconscious mind, which is your connection to the higher dimensional entities. Whether you think about that as guardian angels or your soul or your life's mission or God's plan, that's up to you. We're not dogmatic. But you will learn how to access and change that stuff. And so people will ask me, hey, Brent, there's two questions I get all the time. One is, okay, Brent, does your process work? Does the formula for miracles work on my problem XYZ? Well, that's an easy one to answer. And it's really simple. The formula for miracles and the tools I offer work on anything that's created by your mind, which is everything.
Mm-hmm.
The second question I'm asked is, okay, Brent, how long is it going to take me to get rid of this problem? Health problem XYZ, to make $1 million, to find my soulmate. I can't give one answer to that because essentially what you're asking is, hey, Brent, how long is it going to take me to debug my software? And if you know anything about computers, you know that there is no one simple answer to that. Debugging your software might take you 30 seconds. It might take you 5 minutes. It might take you a couple days. It could take weeks. And heck, if you have a big complicated system that has to be completely junked and started from scratch, it might take you years. And so that's the answer I have to give. That's the truth. It all depends on where you are, what you have to work with, and where you want to go, and how dedicated you are. What will happen is, if you use this, you are guaranteed to see miracles. If you do the training class, for example, I offer 110% miracle money-back guarantee, which is if you use and practice this for 6 months and make a serious effort to clear your blocks, I guarantee you're going to see some sort of miracle happen. You can get all your money back and 10% for your trouble. The trouble is, and here's the kicker, you don't get to choose the miracles. The miracles will choose you. And that's where people get tripped up. And so many people will experience miracles. Some people experience miracles right in their first session or their first listening. Many, many do. Not everybody, though. And that's where we come to the long-term benefits. The long-term benefits are actually more profound. The miracles get all the headlines, but the long-term benefits are what it's really about. And so over the long term, what you're getting is much more than a magic wand to wave and fix a problem. It happens sometimes, and that's great. And it really is so powerful, there's nothing else out there that I'm aware of that's even close. But what you're really getting over the long term is these tools for higher dimensional living. to learn how to access and work with your subconscious mind, to reprogram your energy, to take you to where you want to go in life. And what will happen is once you've changed your energy on the inside, once you've recoded your subconscious, the universe, through the law of attraction, will kick into gear to give you the resources and circumstances and people and teachers you need to achieve that goal. So, for example, let's say you wanted to lose weight. And so you go out and you do a bunch of clearing and you have some sessions with me maybe, and you clear a bunch of blocks about emotional eating and make it safe to be thin and that sort of thing. Do you think you're going to wake up the next day and be 50 or 100 pounds lighter? No, it doesn't work that way. I've never heard of that happening. What might happen, and what's almost certainly will happen if you make a real effort at clearing your blocks, is once those emotional blocks are out of the way, you will manifest into your life the resources and tools you need to achieve your goal. So, for example, you might manifest a fitness coach that really understands your body and how it works, who comes up with an exercise program that you really enjoy, that doesn't cause you pain or injury, that you stick to. You might manifest a book of recipes that are very tasty and easy and inexpensive, that finally allow you to start consistently eating well. I mean, heck, you might manifest a partner, someone, a roommate, a best friend, or a lover who's really into healthy eating and loves to work with you to help you prepare good meals and help you to stay on track, right? I mean, who knows what it is? But once you've changed your energy, you'll attract the pieces you need to take you there. And so the thing to remember about me and my experience is that, yes, in my first session, my frozen elbow instantly completely healed. It was never a problem again. That truly was a miracle. But here's the thing. All of my chronic problems and pain, my back pain, my neck pain, my stiffness, my inability to work, my struggles with depression, my social anxiety, my difficulties in relationships with women, my anger towards God, I mean, it goes on and on and on. None of that stuff instantly healed. It was not that all my problems were solved in an hour. Life doesn't work that way. Instead, I did get a miracle, but honestly, it was kind of minor compared to the big issues I had. And it took me a lot more work and a lot more time and a lot of other things to make a change and then eventually overcome all those other problems. And so that's why I emphasize that over the long term, these are tools for higher dimensional living. You are pretty well guaranteed to see lots of miracles happen along the way. And I have seen so many hundreds of miracles, I think it may be a couple thousand at this point. I could go on and on and on about the incredible changes I've seen, the miraculous instant healings, profound life transformations, people finding wealth, people losing weight, people finding love. You know, I could bore you to tears. I could talk probably for 2 or 3 days nonstop about these incredible stories.
Can I just tell you a quick something that happened to a friend of mine who took your program with weight loss?
Sure.
Well, what happened was that she noticed that when she was working at her desk, she's a writer, and she would get writer's block. Next thing she knew, she was in front of the refrigerator. And why she attributes her success and weight loss to you is because one day she realized that she would get writer's block and it would she would just keep going, and she never found herself in front of the refrigerator again. She was in tears telling me about this, and she attributes that to you. Actually, I have a lot of people who attribute a lot of things to you, but that when you were talking about weight loss, I remembered about my friend, her name's Patty, who told me that.
Yeah, that's what I said. I mean, it's thousands of miracles at this point. There's so many that I can hardly keep track of them. I know that may sound a little arrogant, but that's just the case. This is so powerful that if you use this consistently, you will see miracles happen. The only trap to watch out for is you don't necessarily get to pick how and when the miracle occurs.
Yeah.
That's the kicker. And the only people who get frustrated with this are the ones that say, well, I have this problem, and if it's not gone in 3 days, then I've decided this doesn't work. It's like, okay, you can do that if you want, but my guess is if that's your approach to life, you're going to be stuck for a very long time. get back to me in 50 years when you're, ready to let that go.
Well, yeah, and you said that sometimes if it's really deep and there's a lot of impressions, because I know at the beginning you were talking about not only early in this life but ancestral, 7 generations, if there's a lot there, so what if it takes you a year or two? I mean, we're going to be on the planet 70, 80, 90, 100 years. Okay, so it takes you 2 years, and then you have the next 60, 50, 60 years to live a great life instead of a life full of pain.
It's like if you're living in China and you go, oh, I don't want to learn Chinese, that's going to take years.
Right.
And it's like, well, okay, but, you can make that choice, but then you're guaranteed to never speak the language of the place you live the whole rest of your life, or you can just get to it. And I'm not saying it's going to take years for all these problems. It very rarely does.
Right.
Most people see results more quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Most
once in
people
a
see
while,
results
but what I'm saying, even if it's just, and as I said, I have friends who have used your program and have had amazing results. But what I'm saying is, so what if it takes a year or two? I mean, hey, let's go for it.
That's exactly why I created the Formula for Miracles VIP Club, because most people will see some quick shift right away just from running through the pre-recorded products. Just by using, for example, the Unleash Your Inner Millionaire program, most people will learn a lot of really interesting stuff. It will change your worldview and clear a couple hundred blocks to prosperity that you will see a shift right away. However, I recognize that not every problem and not every situation can be solved that easily or that quickly. And I recognize that no book or pre-recorded program could ever address every problem and every issue that's ever going to come up in anybody's life. That's why I created the VIP Club, to give everybody constant access to me on an ongoing basis in live teleseminars, in live Q&As, through the forums, through the special events I create every month from scratch based on what the members need, to give you that ongoing support and resources to keep yourself moving in the right direction, to keep clearing, to keep digging through the layers until you get to where you need to go to. And so that, in conjunction with the programs, the pre-recorded programs are amazing, because I don't think there's anything out there that's going to make such a big difference in your life so quickly. And for some people, that's all you need. Boom, you're done.
So I know that you created a special offer, and I know that everybody's like, would you tell us how we can get this? So I'm not going to torture everybody any longer, and I want you to tell them about the offer for everyone who's listening to this call. And everybody, you can go to www.yourlifewithoutlimits.com/healing, HEALING. And I just have to say, the other thing is I went to your website and I was looking at the miracles. I saw somebody who got rid of migraine headaches that they had since they were a child, and they said they got rid of it in one session. So I know you say that doesn't always happen, but that's what they said. And there are people who were not having the relationship that they wanted, and within a few days they met one person said they met a beautiful girl and they have a wonderful relationship. So truly, you have so many testimonials of people from every area of life. But I want you to tell us about what you have to offer, and just tell us more about the amazing turnarounds that you've seen in people who've applied your program.
Sure. Basically, my goal with the special offer package is to throw so many powerful products at you in a big bundle that there's just the overwhelming weight and power of it can't help but make a big shift for you. And so there's a lot of pieces to it, and I'll warn you, you don't have to go through it all very quickly. You might get overwhelmed. But every single piece that's in there has the potential to completely change your life. It really does. So the centerpiece of the package is Unleash Your Inner Millionaire. That's been my most popular and best-selling product. That was actually my first Formula for Miracles encoded program. And essentially what it does is it works with both your left brain and your right brain to get your prosperity up to the next level permanently by resetting your subconscious financial thermostat. The left brain piece is the lecture presentation programs, which cover very advanced and deep, profound level of the law of attraction teachings to show you what's really going on behind the scenes. And again, I don't care how many programs you've listened to or how many seminars you've been to. You may have heard some of this, but I can guarantee you have not heard all of it. Most people come away going, oh, my God. I had no idea there was so much stuff in there that would just completely change how I think. So that's for your left brain, to retrain how you think. Because, again, most of what you've learned about how your life and your work and your career and money operates is a mythology. It's sort of true, but not really. It will show you how to pierce those mythologies to connect with the truth underneath. And as they say, the truth will set you free. The second half of the program is for your right brain. That includes the formula for miracles and coded clearings, that when you listen to them with headphones, they will actually entrain your brain down into a deep theta wave and clear your blocks as you listen to them. And so the Unleash Earn a Millionaire program alone clears 327 of the most powerful and most common blocks to prosperity. But that's just the first piece. There's also several bonus tracks that come with it. You'll also get the trauma clearing protocol, which is immensely powerful. You listen to this formula for miracles encoded. It can clear just about any traumatic imprint in you, whether it happened to you or your ancestors or anywhere, any place, anytime. Again, just that one piece alone could totally change your life. There's many people that have used this dozens or hundreds of times, and each time they just can't believe how much better things get. It also includes the allergy clearing protocol, another formula for miracles encoded track. The reason I put that in was I just got really bored out of my head clearing allergies because it got so easy for me. And so I encoded it into an audio program that you can use. Again, run it as many times as you need for all your allergies. We have about an 80 to 90% success rate in getting permanent clearing from one listening. It's not perfect, but, it's pretty good, which is pretty good. If you can get rid of 80% of your allergies in a couple hours, that's worth doing, right?
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, there's also both of my books are included. You'll get Where Science Meets Spirit, The Formula for Miracles, which is a very step-by-step, simple, everyday language explanation of the science behind healing and how it really works. Because I'll have to say it's one of my little pet peeves that there's a lot of people running around in this industry talking about how their work is scientific and all based on quantum physics. But first of all, very few of them have any real scientific or engineering credentials like I do. And second of all, even fewer of them actually know what they're talking about. And so I want to set you straight. This is what's really going on. Is there science behind this? Yes, absolutely. You just have to know where to look for it. The second one is spiritual weight loss, which I designed as one-stop shopping for everything you ever need to know about emotional eating, about diet, about cleansing, about nutrition, about metabolism, about different ways of approaching your diet, about the importance of cleansing and the importance of emotional clearing and subconscious belief work. And so the most common use of that is for weight loss, but this same material is used for reversal of aging. So whether you're looking to lose weight or get into better shape or get stronger or simply slow down and reverse the aging process, that's your one-stop shopping. You'll also get the Secrets of Muscle Testing video, which is about an hour long and will teach you everything you ever need to know about muscle testing. It includes an in-depth explanation of the theory of muscle testing, as well as in-depth tutorials on 4 different kinds of muscle testing and extensive troubleshooting information. You'll also get the Deep Theta meditation, which is a downloadable MP3 set of files of different lengths that will show you exactly what you need to do to get to a Deep Theta meditation. And a lot of people use it to get to sleep at night. They use it to empower their meditation, to take them to a deeper place, to open their consciousness. Or if you do visualizations, manifestations, healings, any kind of work like that, using it with the Deep Theta meditation will make it at least 10 times more powerful. You'll also get a half-price coupon. It's actually more than half price, but more than half off if you want to come to the live training seminar, which I usually do about 3 or 4 times a year in Los Angeles. So anybody that's interested in learning to create miracles in their own lives, I would love to have you come join us, so we'll give you half off that. I think there's some other goodies, but the last one that I really want to emphasize, because it's so easy to overlook, because, again, any one of these pieces could really change your life. But the one I want to call out, because it's so easy to overlook with all the other cool stuff in the package, is you get a 30-day $1 trial to the Formula for Miracles VIP Club. And again, that's my members program, where I try to give you a stream of resources on an ongoing basis as a combination of live events with me. I do group healing teleseminars 2, 3, 4 times a month. I give away private sessions on a regular basis to the members that we do through teleseminars. There's a huge archive of recorded material, of recorded sessions and club events and things that you can access and download. There's also special events, which is probably the highlight of the VIP Club, where we have this really cool voting system where all the members can propose and vote on topics for special events, which is essentially problems they have in their life. And the ones that are the most popular, that get the most votes, I create material from scratch every month, which I try to make a clip notes on the best of everything you need to solve this problem. There's no filler. I know we're all busy, so I'm not going to waste anybody's time. It's just right to the point. This is what you need to know. And so it's really cool because it's all driven by the members on what they need. You also will get access to private forums I answer every day, discounts on private sessions, discounts on classes, as well as access to preview and test and sometimes download for free my upcoming products. And so I want to call that out because that over the long term could be the most important and most transformative piece of the whole package. So don't overlook it. We've bundled it all together. And if money is not your issue, if you're making a lot of money, I would actually encourage you to go to my website and buy all these things a la carte off my e-commerce system, because it'll only cost you about, $1,100, $1,200. That would be great. You'll make me a very happy man. So if money's not your problem, if you've got plenty of money, please do that. If not, if you're struggling a little bit or you really need to watch your budget, you're welcome to take advantage of the special offer where we've discounted all these things over 90%. And I'm serious about that. Go to my website, add it all up. You'll see that this is serious. It really is a 90% discount. It is not publicly available. And there, of course, is a 100% money-back guarantee, no questions asked. And so if for any reason you don't like it or it doesn't work for you, you're welcome to return it, get your money back. Though I have to say that in my experience, the most common reason that people have asked for their money back is people who bought it and then just forgot to use it and then decided they didn't want it anymore and asked for their money back. Pretty much everybody that actually goes in and reads the books and uses the material is blown away by it. And I know my return rate is one of the lowest in the industry because there really is an immense amount of value in the package. But see for yourself.
Yes, and I could vouch for that because you have one of the best reputations in this industry as somebody who absolutely delivers what they promise that they're going to deliver. And having been in this industry for so long, I have to say that I am constantly hearing of people who attribute immense breakthroughs to you and your program.
Thank you.
So, and that is the absolute 100% truth. I was so excited when I found out that I was going to be able to interview you. And I know that also that your program, at least $1,100 or $1,200, I think Unleash Your Inner Millionaire is a couple $100 alone. And in just one of these modules is worth more than $1,100 or $1,200. And you're giving all of it to us for how much?
It's just $97.
Oh, gosh. Okay. That is so extremely, extremely generous, and I just thank you so much for this entire call. And any final thoughts you want to share with us before we start? And by the way, let me tell everybody the URL one more time in case you missed it. It's yourlifewithoutlimits.com/healing. HEALING, yourlifewithoutlimits.com/healing, and you will see this amazing offer from Brent Phillips. Brent, anything else you want to share with us before we sign off?
Sure. I always like to finish my presentations by letting everyone know, which I think is the most important thing you can take away, which is quite simple, that all the miracles that have happened in my life, all the really amazing things, have nearly always been a result of when I was willing to let go of something I thought I knew, without question. And so we all live in prisons constructed of all the things we think we know. And, of course, the products I'm offering here will help you to dismantle that prison by clearing those unconscious beliefs. And so I would encourage you that whatever you think you know about the law of attraction or energy healing, whatever disappointments or frustrations or failures you have, whether you think you know it all or if nothing is going to work for you, I would encourage you that maybe now's a good time to let that go and give it a shot. And, of course, 100% money-back guarantee, so I don't want there to be any money at risk if you don't like it or if you don't think it's valuable or it doesn't deliver what it's promised. But look at what's holding you back. I'm sure you have a good reason for thinking that. But if you're willing to let it go, maybe your life can change. And it's hard. But that's what real spirituality is about.
Amen. Thank you. And thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today, Brent. I really have loved this call, and I look forward to another call with you. I hope that you will agree to that. So, again, and thank you for everything you're doing for the world.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
And thank you to everyone for being with me and Brent Phillips today, and I look forward to helping all of you create your life without limits. This is Deborah